Slightly different vibe today. I got a comment on my Eboni K Williams video, and I said I would respond via video, and I am a woman of my words, so here is the response. So the comment reads, "The issue is not about her having a preference, but making it look like anyone that isn't within her preference is inadequate. Women tend to look down on blue-collar men because they don't give that prestige status like white-collar men. A high-earning man doesn't necessarily equate to a high-value man. She says she wants to uplift black men but is engaged to a white man." I never had an issue with what she said in Ayanla's interview, but the response to address the interview was disparaging. So firstly, thank you for your comment. So I understand what you're saying and I'm with you. I don't believe anyone should be disparaging anyone, but I didn't gather that she was disparaging anyone by saying she personally would date the bus driver who owned the bus as opposed to the bus driver who didn't. Because being the owner, I guess, would imply a level of tenacity and ambition that might match hers. I think being a millionaire, that is a standard and a preference that she should be allowed to decide and keep without getting backlash for that, which is what many people were initially annoyed and outraged about. That is the comment that drove the barrage of hate comments, and I feel a lot of that has to do with this narrative that any woman, especially a black woman, that has these sort of standards is just spoiled, entitled, and a gold digger, or now classed as the modern woman. But relying on a man to protect and provide, isn't that traditionally a woman's role? Like, that's what she asked for, a man that can protect and provide. So the definition of inadequate is lacking the quality or quantity required, insufficient for a purpose. Of a person, unable to deal with a situation or with life. Example, a sad, solitary, inadequate man. Not my example, that's Google's. Eboni K. Williams is a millionaire and is looking for a man that can protect and provide for her. There are loads of millionaire women that have men that can protect and provide. I don't think there is anything wrong with her wanting to find one of those guys. The bus driver who drives the bus without owning it may very well be insufficient for the purpose of being able to protect and provide for her. They may be unable to deal with the life that she leads. That is just a fact. And that is specific to her. She didn't say nobody should date a bus driver. She said she couldn't date the bus driver that didn't own his own bus. Like I said in my previous video, I think that there definitely is a double standard when it comes to dating requirements. There are men advising men not to date women who are over a certain weight, over a certain age, average at best looking, single mothers, dark-skinned, bonnet, wig or weave wearers. Those characteristics have nothing to do with someone's ability to love honestly and deeply, how kind and generous they might be, but there isn't the same outrage for such comments. Ebony said what her personal preference was, which actually wasn't that she wouldn't date a bus driver, but she would date a bus driver who owned his own bus. She also wasn't given advice, and look what has happened. And I do wonder why that really is. Why such an outrage? I do sort of agree with you about the looking down on blue collar workers as opposed to white collar workers, but I don't think that that is just women. I think that is society as a whole. People with influence, predominantly men, dictate to us, the masses, what jobs are deemed as worthy or not. They do that by what is promoted in media and pay scales. We are conditioned, both men and women, to place value in certain things over others, just like we do with cars, races, ethnicities, areas, schools, countries, clothing, virgins, penis size, etc. So I think we really would need to take up the issue with those who make such decisions. Like, why are teachers paid so much less than doctors when without the teachers, would the doctors even get to actualize? I've heard parents say to children, you better read your books because you don't want to end up being a bin man. So I think it's a societal issue as opposed to just being a woman issue. However, I think Black women have largely remained loyal to being with Black men regardless of the power or position that Black men hold in society, no matter where they fall on the totem pole. I mean, people are still, knocking boots and people are still having children. So again, I fully agree that high earning does not equate to high value, and any person arguing in good faith knows that. Hence me saying wanting high value isn't as superficial as it's sometimes purposely made to look for the purpose of making women look like gold diggers, as if all they all care about is just money and not how they are treated. Some may, but they would be the gold diggers. But for the average woman, you also want good character, you want respect, you want a good level of emotional intelligence, you want a happy, balanced relationship, etc. And you also do want the best man to father your children, should you want to have a child. But you also want that in addition to financial stability, because after all, you can't feed a family love and good values alone. I think sometimes frustration and defensiveness clouds the message, which I think was ultimately, I want better for you. Wasn't it the Kevin Samuels supporters who said, don't look at how it's being said, look at what is being said? While blue collar jobs are a great, honest way to make a living, and most of us come from lines of service workers, for a lot of us, we also watched them struggle and break their backs. We saw them with furrowed brows and heads in hands when a bill or an expense came out of the blue. Or for those of us lucky enough, had them fighting and killing themselves to put us through school so we could do better. They walked so we could run. So there can't be anything wrong with someone saying, okay, we've been doing that, largely because that's what we've been allowed to do. Can we do better now? Can we break that ceiling? Like Eboni said in another interview, if someone feels that a blue collar role is them giving their best, then that is fine. She doesn't have a problem with that. But what about the people that may have wanted more but have been taught that they aren't worthy of more? Because the Gollum effect is also real. As we know, living in a capitalist society, money unfortunately makes the world go round, and as a community, we need more resources so we can start defining our own trajectories, so we can start protecting our communities adequately, reducing the stress and the pain, setting up initiatives where we can begin to heal our own trauma. And I don't think we will be able to do that if we all only aspire to be blue collar. The cost of living is increasing. What blue collar workers could have bought a house with and lived nicely on in the past isn't able to stretch as far today, and many of the bills and immediate needs can't wait for the pension to hit in 30 odd years. Masculinity has been defined for the masses, which we all buy into. And there are most definitely systems put in place to stop certain men from expressing their masculinity in totality. Those men feel inadequate when they can't measure up to these predetermined markers of what a man is. Research suggests that men with lower incomes may experience higher levels of psychological distress, higher mortality rates and stress, and financial strain is a significant predictor of depressive symptoms amongst men. See, I can understand that But women can't wholly be blamed for that if the majority should even be blamed at all. But the creators of those definitions and those systems, however. But what I'm finding is this frustration that men feel is sort of misplaced, misattributed, as is the focus. There are things in place to distract and divide, but instead of multiple socio-economic or geopolitical podcasts popping up about this, we just have toxic spaces for degradation and viral sound bites about judging women by their vaginal elasticity. I think we as a community focus on the wrong things, constantly going back and forth at each other without really looking at those who are pulling the strings. Who is making these clips go viral? How are some of these podcast personalities funded? We really should be pooling and uniting, but we are here doing up microphone wars for the whole world to see, like we didn't get brought up knowing you don't go out and air your dirty linen. I do feel you on the talk black sleep white comment, but I seem to remember that comment a few years back circulating when people were defending Childish Gambino, Frederick Douglass, and many others, and more recently Byron Allen, whose media group actually owns the company that Eboni works for. People have defended them, saying it was very, very possible to date someone of a different race while being down for the cause. So if we applied it there, then I guess we would also have to apply it here, but she also isn't currently engaged to anyone. My first video was ultimately to say to women who, off the back of Ayanla's video, was told were being too picky or entitled, etc., to become the best versions of themselves, to grow and to heal, learn boundaries, self-love and standards, and to live life to the fullest without listening to people who do not have their best interests at heart, because you cannot and will not be able to please everyone. As the quote says, you can lie down for people to walk on you and they will still complain that you're not flat enough. What I will say in conclusion though is that it is necessary to always be sensible. You look holistically at a man or at a woman, you don't get blinded by the money or by the beauty. Be with the people who celebrate you, the people that pour into you and that you can pour into. But again, thanks for the comment. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you have a lovely day.